Hello, my name is Federico Toledo and welcome to the Quality Sense podcast, where you will have the chance to improve your sense for quality by listening to some leaders who are amazing at what they do in the software industry. In each show, I'll have a one-on-one chat with them discussing specific topics related to software testing and quality. This is the second part of the interview with Refael Botbol from Broadcom. He takes care of the end-to-end user experience of BlazeMeter. He has a lot of experience in performance testing and also in open source. So we will be continue listening to this interview. And if you want to listen to the whole interview, I suggest you to start listening to the previous episode. Okay, and one last question related to the topic. What about open source? Because I understand that there are beautiful open source tools for doing performance testing, and there are some companies like already using commercial tools and paying some licenses for around that, and they maybe don't want to try with the open source solutions, mainly because they see that there is a huge investment maybe in the first stage, like migrating all what they have to the new tool. So I don't know if you have any experience you can share about any company try to transition to open source.
Yeah, this is a good topic to discuss. We see a lot of enterprises uh, going open source first. But I think it's not it will not shock people that will hear this, that the VP level or the C level will say, is there open source that can do that? If the question is yes, so is there somebody backing up that open source? Is it healthy? Is it being maintained? And if the answer is yes, then that will be the first thing that we'll try to do. And I think the reason organizations, not startup, I'm saying startup is the obvious part, but enterprise, financial, health insurance, they do that because one, it empowers them as an organization. Second, it's really easy to start with open source. So if an open source is successful, that means there is a community around it. If there is a community around it and you want to get your users to use that, one, you know that there will be like any other user that is trying to do that, and the community will support them. Second, if the community is big, then you know it's something that it's easy. So they relieve a lot of the concerns of a new product just by going with open source. Second thing is the ability to do it themselves if they want to. And for us in BlazeMeter, we see it all the time. We see people trying and doing like JMeter, build it yourself. And at some point, they get to the level that they spent a whole ops team just to maintain that. And we just tell them, listen, it's much more cost effective to do that, and you get all those features, and it's like a done deal. And we are happy to see that, because for the same, let's say we talked about ROI, for the same resources that they invested, they got a lot more of their investment. So it's an easy choice. But if you're an organization, you also want to know that tomorrow I want to switch, tomorrow I want to do something. The scripts, because they're based on open source, are mine, and I can move between one vendor to another, or even build it myself if it comes to that. So I think that was the shift I think started like somewhere 10 years ago. And you can see that most of the products, like the leading products today, have their open source stuff. Netflix, Google, even Apple are releasing stuff to open source, so people can use that, because on the end, you don't want a product to product comparison. You're talking about relationship with the customer. You're talking about how you help customers achieve their goals. The tools is just the how to do that. And I think when somebody invests over $1 million in your product, they're not buying the product really. They're buying what you promised them. They're buying the achievement that they will get with your partner, with the partnership between you and the vendor. And the product is just the how to do that, as long as the product fits the needs, of course. And by the way, forgot to mention, one of our competitors, it's been there for a long time. We saw the problem of the market to move from that. So with the help of you guys, we created the load runner, or as we call it, the shift left converter, to allow people to ease the pain of moving from that. It's not a silver bullet, right? It's not going to do all the work, but we saw a couple of engagements that we took a year and a half, or even more than that, project, and reduced it to a matter of a couple of months. And people were able to move from that to technologies such as Selenium, Taurus, JMeter, and get the same amount of value based on those technologies. And now they are free to choose which open source platform to use.
So that makes easier the decision. And also there is another thing that you mentioned that I think it's really important, that when you decide to move to another tool, you have to pay a lot of attention to the community behind that. I'm impressed with, particularly with JMeter, which is a tool that I've been using for many years. And you have like everything you need. It's like there are so many online trainings. There are people answering questions in different forums and things like this. So you don't miss anything from a commercial tool if you use that. So,
yeah, and it's fun to see that. Like, look, Netflix released their CD tool for canary testing to the open source. They actually built on top of that another open source to kind of do the analysis of those canary testing, and release that as well. We see Smart Bear with Swagger, that they basically donated that, and now it's open API project. And more and more, we can talk about the Linux distributions, and people are going with open source because it's just a win-win for everyone.
I'd like to thank my team, Abstracta, for sponsoring and helping me to create this podcast. Abstracta is a company fully dedicated to software testing that can work with you to push the quality of your products and processes to the next level. Okay, I have a couple of more personal questions, I would say. One is related to habits, because I really believe that a good way to improve things in your life, in your career, is related to the small things that you do every day. So I'm curious about which habits do you have, or if you have any habit that you recommend the listeners to try.
I don't know if it's an everyday habit, but I'm trying to challenge myself with the new things, and like at least something like in a half a year or a quarter. We talked about, for example, coffee, right? So one of my objectives was to get to just find my coffee machine with the budget that I can, and then become self-sufficient and roasting my own beans. And I just, one project led to another, and we talked about the coffee is like so scientific. You need to have the 9 bar, and you need to roast it in just exactly the same place. And then the more you look into that, the more you understand you need to lay them for like a week, and calibrate your grinder. It all started, because there was a coffee machine in the office, right? And I wanted to make something there. So from my point of view, think of like the things you do daily, and just how you can do them better, and just put it as a project for you. It can go it can be your coffee, and it can be your guitar, or whatever you find it, and just put your objective. I found it useful for me, and it also helps me do it to my teams that we do. So, for example, implementing OKRs as a practice can be something that you can do just for the sake of learning it and see if it fits for you.
With the coffee.
Well, OKRs, it's not just for work. You can do it for your own sake, and it's good because with OKRs, it's you're not supposed to be 100%, and you're not supposed to fail all the time. And it's a learning process which you learn most about is yourself. Like today, if you'll tell me to develop a JMeter script, I will know exactly what to do, and I will tell you how much time it will take. But if you tell me today, hey, Refael, how much it will take you to run a marathon, I don't know, right? But just doing that and like putting an objective and see how you handle with that and how you learn a lot about yourself. Is it physical? Is it the psychological how you work? And all you need is just that small objective. Okay, we want to run a marathon, so we will run 10 kilometers in the next month. Okay, you failed. You learned about it, that you're not able to do 10K in 1 month, and due to those reasons, right? Yeah. So you learn a lot about yourself, and that's what I'm trying to do. Like every quarter, kind of find something and see if I can achieve that. I think Mark Zuckerberg is doing it per year, and he learned like Mandarin or something like that at one point. So maybe he's more advanced.
Yeah, and it's related to what you mentioned at the beginning. It's doing experiments, right?
Yeah, sometimes you think you'll need a whole project of renovating your house in order to do those kind of things. I always dreamt to do that, and I see it as a dream that keeps on going because you never find the time to that or the money to do that and those kind of things. But every daily small things that you can say, like just for example, hearing X amount of podcasts, or find a way to exercise, or learn about something that was always there. And today, I don't know about, like, if you're a manager, probably you're overwhelmed with work. But maybe engineers today, because we're working from home, we got our 2 hours, 3 hours commute back. So instead of the podcast, maybe we can, go to Coursera, go to the Abstractor University or the Academy or the BlazeMeter University, and learn, JMeter, learn Selenium, learn performance testing. And and maybe you'll find out that you're a tester. Yeah. And the tester is not just for code. You can test a lot of things in your house. How to pick a lock, it's also a test that you can learn.
Everything is related to quality and analyzing the quality, improving the quality of everything around you. This is the life of a tester. Okay.
I went to somebody told me how do you become a tester? And I said you don't become a tester. It's something in your DNA. And if you want to know if you would like testing or not, if you're a gamer, just go to any MMORPG game or massive multiplayer online RPG, or a 3D shooter, just like a Counter-Strike or Half-Life. And if you find yourself going into a room or a cave, and instead of just going directly out, you're exploring that for like an hour and a half just to find nothing there, and you don't quit playing, you're a tester, my friend, because you like to explore stuff and see what happens if I will throw a grenade into that cave, and will I die? Only a tester would think about that.
Experiments again. Okay, one final question. It's books. Do you read books? Do you have any recommendations for reading?
I must say that I became a book. I'm hearing books more than read them. Okay. But I took advantage of, because that's for my commute. I have a balance between podcasts and the books. So I found it that I can hear a book, and then I get more time because when I get to bed and read a book, I usually fall asleep. Then I need to go back and read more pages. But one book that really influenced me is Ender's Game. I don't know if are you familiar with Ender's Game? It's kind of an old book, almost as old as me.
No, I don't know it.
So Ender's Game talks about don't want to ruin the book, but it talks about there was an invasion to Earth by alien race, and now they're training kids to become the next really intelligent kids that they located, and they're moving them to space. And the whole world was united to create that program, and they teach them how to become officers to command the future army that will deal with the invasion. And I think that's the book, in my opinion, that foresaw the two pizza team. Because really quickly in that book, the main character is Andrew Wiggins, and the nickname is Ender. He is implementing squads instead of just controlling everything as the other commanders. And basically, he breaks it down into squads of 3, which they know the plan, but they are fully autonomous and they know their role because there is a game in space that they need to play and get to the goal. And that I read that book just because just before I left to officer schools, and that book really taught me that it's much more efficient to get your, in this case it was soldiers, but build your teams in such a way that they are fully autonomous and they own what they are supposed to do, and they have all the permissions to do whatever they need in order to get that goal, obviously within the law, right? But the rules of the game.
Mhm.
And I think if I take that, and that book was in 1985. If you look at the Jeff Bezos two pizza teams, I think it's just an extension of that. You basically break your teams into groups that are not too big, because then what's the point? But not too small. They can do the work or the job all by themselves, and they look at the let's say the CEO or the manager as the person that basically tells them where they need to be, what is expected, and what is the end game. So I love that book. And by the way, it's a full series of books, and there's a game develops into going into space and traveling between not universe, between planets, etc. And there is like a parallel game, a parallel book series to that called Ender's Shadow, which starts from almost the same place of Ender's Game, have but from a different character. So in Ender's Game, it's from the Andrew Wiggins point of view, and then one of his squad called Bean. Then the Ender's Shadow is from the Bean's point of view, and then also great. I highly recommend those books. But be careful; they're you become addicted to them. So make sure you start reading that at least at like the weekend, and at least you have like 2 days that
Okay, I will take this into consideration. At the beginning, I thought that you were mentioning a book of science fiction, nothing to do with what we do at work, but at the end, you connected it
No,
nicely. Oh.
it's the writer. I think just I don't know if by accident or not, but or was he learned it from somewhere else. That's I looked at it, and when the two pizza team kind of phrase came up to
Yeah,
life in the industry, it like automatically it's Ender's Game, but with 8 people and not 4.
cool. Excellent. Rafael, I had great time talking with you. Thank you so much for your time. The last thing I want to ask you is if you have anything you want to suggest our listeners to access or to try.
So I urge all of you, if you ever wanted to kind of know how to do testing with with JMeter or become a performance tester, to visit the BlazeMeter University. It's just going to be there. It's free. There are like learning paths to become a performance engineer, which will guide you through how to be a JMeter pro, and then what it means to be performance engineers, how to conduct tests and best practices. It's all based on JMeter, Selenium, and BlazeMeter free account. So with all those three, you can just do that. And if you need more into that and like spread a little bit more, we have the Abstract Academy. So I think those two together are completing each other. And other than that, just stay safe, stay healthy. Yeah, these crazy times we learn so much about ourselves, and I like to say I don't think we're, or at least on my world, working from home is kind of misleading. We are at home dealing with a crisis while trying to do our work and get our customers to be successful while doing that. So that's the state of mind, and we're all doing our best and learning to that.
Yeah, very challenging times, but I think we can do it. Thank you so much again, Refael, and
thank you, Federico. Bye-bye.
I hope your sense for quality got better after this conversation. Thank you so much for listening, and please subscribe to Quality Sense Podcast. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues, or whoever you think can benefit from listening to it. I hope to see you soon. Adios, amigos.